to the Football Foodie. On this episode, we're going to be recapping the teams that got through in the final round of playoffs for the World Cup and the teams that shockingly didn't. There's a couple of them. We're also going to have a special announcement at the end of this video. You're not going to want to miss that. So stay tuned for this episode of the Football Foodie. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be interesting. There's no food review, but there's an exciting announcement at the end of the video, so stay tuned for that. If you haven't hit the like and subscribe button, I recommend you do that right now and hit your notifications so you don't miss any episodes of the Football Foodie coming up. You're not going to want to miss any episodes. We're going to ramp it up for the World Cup. We're going to be trying crazier foods. But let's start off the teams that are in the World Cup right now and that won their final game of qualifications in the playoffs rounds. Let's kick it off with Bosnia. Who saw this coming? Let's be honest. A lot of people wouldn't have put money that Bosnia would beat Italy and qualify for the World Cup. I'm not shocked. Like I've said in my earlier videos, I think Italy is a good team. But if you can't beat Bosnia, I'm sorry. You're not going to do good at the World Cup. So maybe missing 3 World Cups in a row is going to give the Italian Soccer Federation some incentive. Take Baggio's advice and develop more strikers. Maybe they're going to take Baggio's advice and develop players on the field and not only tactically with pen and papers like they've been doing. I think the Italian National Federation right now is in a crisis. Unfortunately, I feel like Gattuso is going to be a scapegoat for this, which I think he kind of deserves. There's no way Moises Kean should have been subbed off. Italy, they were off to an early lead and they just couldn't hold on to it. And playing in Bosnia, it does not seem like an easy task. That stadium looked like it was full of energy. You could also hear the Italian fans chant as well. So you got to give the traveling fans some credit there. But unfortunately, the traveling fans weren't enough to help Italy get through to the 2026 World Cup. I've never in my life thought I would say Italy is now missing their 3rd straight World Cup, which is mind-boggling. You have a country with one of the most viewed leagues in the world in Serie A. You have a bunch of players who play in high-end leagues, and you guys can't make it to the show for 3 times in a row. This is going to be the 12th year. It's absolutely amazing what's happening right now. Good for Bosnia for being the underdog and making it into the World Cup. But Italy, seriously, take Baggio's advice. He said this after the end of the 2010 World Cup. He knew this was coming. Frankly, without a striker, it's going to be some more tough days for Italy. Hopefully they hire the right manager. Hopefully Gattuso, I personally like the guy. I hope he ends up on his feet. But Italy, I hope that you guys do a serious rebuild, make a better effort to make it to the 2030 World Cup. So Italy wasn't the only team that I'm shocked that didn't make the World Cup. Believe it or not, I'm shocked that Czechia is going to be in this World Cup. Yes, the country that I told last video to send me a memo of when they decided to change their name, them in Turkey. It still boggles me how they just change countries' names randomly. Unbelievable. Anyways, Czechia, they ended up beating Denmark, who I thought Denmark would be in this World Cup. Denmark, they have a great all-around team. They have an aging Eriksson, they have Froholt, they have a Højlund. They have some names. Good on Czechia for overcoming them in a penalty shootout, kind of the same way that Italy came to their demise. The penalty shootout, it's not these big teams' friends. It just gets in their head, and I feel like the underdog always prevails during these penalty shootouts. Good on Czechia. We'll see you in 2026. And we'll see what Czechia does and how far they go. I don't think they're going far. I could be wrong, though. I hope they do well, though. Now, the other team that didn't send me the memo that their country changed names, Turkey. Turkey, like I predicted, they would be on to the next round. But it wasn't a high-scoring matchup against Kosovo. They only ended up winning 1-0. But hey, it's good to see Turkey in the World Cup for the first time since finishing in 3rd place in 2002. Let's see how they do this time. Finish in 3rd? Or will they be out in the group stage? I don't know, but Turkish soccer in the World Cup is always an entertaining time. I'm looking forward to seeing how they do. So let's see. Place a comment below if you think Turkey is going to make it to the knockout stage and why. And now, finally, another team that has zero business. Like all these European teams that have made it, besides Turkey, they have zero business being in this World Cup. I just want to make this clear. I'm going to recap right now what I think should not even happen in soccer. I'm going to recap Sweden versus Poland, okay? Sweden ended up with 2 points in their group. They were dead last. And you know what? They're going to the World Cup. They're going to the World Cup and they're sending Robert Lewandowski's Poland home. That could have probably been the last time we ever seen Robert Lewandowski play a game. But unfortunately, a healthy Sweden just prevailed. And Sweden, they had an injury-riddled qualification campaign. It's not their fault, but hey, what's fair is fair. If you're not going to put up the results when it matters during normal qualifications and you're going to end up dead last, you just had a bad campaign. It happens. But you shouldn't be rewarded based on what you do at the Nations League. I find that as a fan a little mind-boggling. But also as a fan, I'm also very interested in to see how Victor Gyökeres and Elanga do in the World Cups. So this is going to be an interesting Swedish team. Could they be the first team that ends last in their group and wins the World Cup? Now that would be a story. I wouldn't put money on it though. But I would put money, unfortunately, that we did see Robert Lewandowski's last game. I don't think he's going to be back internationally. I don't see it happening. I also don't see him playing another game in Barcelona. He's a free agent at the end of the summer. And as a fan, I'm very confused. Yes, I think Sweden has an entertaining team to watch. But do they deserve to finish in last place and have some Nations League clause elevate you into qualifying for the World Cup? That's soccer for you in 2026. Now, let's move on to the next two teams that qualified that weren't in Europe. Teams that went through, let's start off with Congo versus Jamaica. Last video, I was hyping you guys up about Jamaica versus New Caledonia, and I just blatted out the winner. This one I'm going to keep you in suspense if you don't know the score, but let's be real. It was always going to be Congo. Congo, they needed the extra time, but they're on to the next round of the World Cup where their first opponent is going to be Portugal. That's going to be an interesting game, but I think Congo, they have their work cut out for them in that group as well, playing Colombia. Uzbekistan, they can frustrate you defensively. So let's see how Congo does in the group. How do you think they'll end? Put a comment below saying where you think Congo ends in the group stage of the World Cup. And like I said last video, Bolivia had an opportunity to make it to the World Cup since 1994. And I mistakenly said that Iraq has never made a World Cup. In fact, they did. They made 40 years ago. And they made it this time again. Iraq is going to be in the 2026 World Cup, beating Bolivia 2-1. Iraq had a great qualification campaign in Asia. Good for them to finally be rewarded and to get into the World Cup. I want to see how Iraq does in the World Cup. I think them just making the group stage is a big win. But hey, anything can happen. Dark horses go far in the World Cup. By far, I mean past the group stage. That's where I think Iraq will end. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? We'll see. Iraq, they're in the World Cup for the first time in 40 years. And that's all of the teams that made the World Cup. I never thought I'd be making a World Cup video recapping how Italy missed 3 World Cups in a row, how Sweden ended in last place and somehow qualified for the World Cup, in their group stage of qualifying, that is. And Iraq and Congo are in. Iraq, I could always see like the AFC teams making the wild cards, and there's always some teams that get in there that you're a little mind boggled. But even Congo, like the African teams, it's good to finally see 10 African teams in the World Cup, rightfully so. I think that continent has some very entertaining soccer. I'm glad that all of these teams made it. It's just, like I said, it's just definitely not a World Cup recap I thought I'd ever make in my life. Thank you for watching this episode of The Football Foodie, and thank you for staying till the end. My special announcement is we're going to be giving some giveaways until the World Cup begins. So how can you enter for these giveaways? If you haven't noticed throughout the video, I said hit a like and hit subscribe, and I've also been encouraging you guys to leave comments. How you qualify for these jerseys? Just leave a comment below. The comment with the most likes wins a chance to win one of 3 jerseys. I'll be giving out jerseys throughout the World Cup, and if your comment gets the most likes, you've won a jersey. Thank you for watching this episode of The Football Foodie. We'll be recapping more soccer and more food. See you on the next one.